Today, I'd like to talk about Variable Humans in Transit by Qntm. Qntm is a pseudonym. I cannot remember the author's actual name, but I'll put it on the screen. This is a collection of short stories that were written between 2006 and 2022. These are science fiction short stories. Now, I found out about this writer and these stories from Tom Scott, who's a really big YouTube guy who does kind of like sort of like science-ish videos, like science and technology type videos, I guess would be a good way to describe it. He usually goes to weird places and stuff like that. That's one of the things he does. But anyways, he's mentioned this writer and his works a few times, and I got really interested. Picked this book up on Kindle. I was not disappointed. I want to say not even in the least. It was certainly not what I expected. I expected interesting stories, and I got them, but I also got, in addition to interesting stories, a lot of cautionary tales and a lot of like genuinely terrifying and almost like an existential level of terrifying stories. You know, a lot of times science fiction is supposed to be like cautionary tales, right? You know, if we explore this technology this way, these are the bad things that can happen. I'm halfway not really sure if it's like science fiction, but it's also horror. So it's like maybe horror by way of science fiction, but the intent is not to horrify per se, but to explore I would say like sort of dark concepts through science fiction, you know, and sort of the darker side of futurism in a sense. So I want to talk about them a little bit, but talking about, since they're short stories, there's not a lot of padding, right? So the more I talk, the more I start to give things away. So I'm going to slightly talk. I don't want to say spoil, but I'm going to like verge into like the concept of the story a little bit. I'm going to try not to spoil it, try to leave it open-ended, but it's hard to express my excitement and my interest in these stories that were written, and how entertaining and how eye-opening and sort of like, I don't know, kind of frightening these concepts are without actually kind of delving into it a little bit. So I'll talk a little bit about a couple of stories. I'm going to pick maybe the two that I really like the best and sort of like verge on their concepts a little bit and then pull away before I give away too much. We'll see if I can be successful. Then this also gives you a good example of the kind of thing you can expect. You know, actually, what a couple of the stories deal with, and these are not the two I want to talk about, is the concept of uploading the consciousness or the personality of a person. Not so much like, sort of like creating a digital image of that person. So one of these stories, that upload is sort of a thing that a person signs away, and that real person still exists, and this upload of that person exists, and that upload is treated like software. But there becomes sort of the moral quandary of having this personality do work for you, because that's what people do. They have it, you know, perhaps like work at a call center, so to speak, right? So it's this person, like a mirror image of that person, like mentally, so to speak. And then the question becomes like, is that actually a person? It's simulating them. Does that mean that the pain and exhaustion and stress that you're putting that copy through is fair and real and even humane? And what's interesting about those stories is it doesn't take a very humanistic approach to relating the story. It's related very matter of fact, like you would get like information from a Wikipedia page or something. You know, that's how the information is presented, sort of factual and very cold manner. And that just makes it all the more chilling because it seems so like something that we see, in our daily lives anyways. So that's a couple of the stories to kind of mess around with that concept. Now, the two stories that I really enjoyed the most, so I found the most memorable in this collection. One is called The Difference. And in this story, a man is trapped in a room, and his only interface with the outside world is this computer terminal that has a website that he can't leave this website. He can't do anything else apart from input text into this website. But others can come and visit him and talk to him. And this man in this room is trying to convince people who talk to him that he's real and to come save him. But the question becomes, are you real, or are you just an AI? Are you just programmed to be calling for help? You're not really sure that this person exists, or if it is an AI, And it kind of goes back and forth, and it explores the idea of like, how do you prove that you're a real person online? I mean, how do you prove it? You can't prove it in conversation because it's very easily to plausibly deny that you're real, especially with recent AI chatbots. It makes it extremely difficult sometimes to tell if someone is a real person or a chatbot. And that's only going to become more and more difficult to decipher. This story, I don't know when that specific story was written. That actually I can find out because it's not hard to find out. It was originally published in 2007. So a pretty prophetic story from, I don't know, 16 years ago. So you could see how forward thinking that concept is. And we're having that problem now. I mean, that sort of thing exists where people are using chatbots to sort of simulate call centers or to answer the phone for scammers. So it can be used both ways. Really interesting. There's some interesting sort of wrap up at the end of that story. But that concept of, can you tell if somebody's real or not? And is this person real or not? Is very compelling. It's very thought-provoking concept and a little bit kind of unnerving. And a story that I think had the biggest sort of like, oh my God moment for me was literally the story called I Don't Know, Timmy, Being God is a Big Responsibility. In this story, two characters, one character getting ready to leave work at the end of the day, is called over by another character asking if he wants a gold bar. And they proceed to go into how they have this simulation they've been running, and they have this quantum computer that they've had and been developing, and that it can run a simulation of Earth. And in this Earth simulation, they can speed up time until they can have this simulation be at the exact same time as they are. And without spoiling it, they come to discover that it's much more than just a simulation that they're running. And the implication of the story is kind of one of those like, what do you even do with this sort of power? Really excellent collection of short stories. If you enjoy science fiction, this is a easy recommend for you. I found that they read very quickly, and they tend to have a sort of detached sort of atmosphere to them. And it really explores not just these concepts of like futurism and like what it means to us, and sort of like in sort of a very unapologetic way, as far as like humans tend to do this, because we sort of as a civilization transition away from an old style of living into this much more modern digital online style of life. What that could mean, the sort of real dangers that we could encounter. And there were numerous times in this book I was like, oh, I just felt to myself, this is completely chilling. This is very intense. This is, the sort of thing you stop and you kind of sit back and you just sort of think about it. Especially that story, I Don't Know, Timmy, Being God is a Big Responsibility. That one in particular I mentioned, but all of them had that to one aspect or another. A really excellent collection. Super easy to recommend for science fiction fans, for horror fans, if you like the idea of sort of the dark part of the web and stuff like that. This is probably going to be a good fit for you. Thanks for watching. You could consider liking and subscribing, and I'll do more of this. My name is Virgil, and this is Literally Books. That's all for right now. Bye.